Hola clase. Today I want to discuss expressing frequency with adverbs. Now this is going to be your first at-home video and I don't want you to feel too overwhelmed. So I'm going to try and keep it as short and as simple as I possibly can. Remember, you can always pause to fill in anything on your handout that you might need to do. As we go along, take as much time as you need, and remember you can always repeat the video as well. So let's get started. Today's objectives. When you come into class, I want to be able to practice using adverbs of frequency to extend our Spanish sentences, and I want to be able to connect AR verbs and conjugations, as well as tener, to our already extending vocabulary. First, we have siempre, todos los días, mucho, a veces, de vez en cuando, poco, rara vez, and nunca. Now, as you guys are getting these, remember we're going to go over them one by one, so if you don't know them now, you will know them in the future. But I'm certain some of them you might already know, like todos los días, poco, and rara vez, possibly even nunca. So our first one is siempre. And simply put, siempre means always. Our next adverb of frequency is going to be todos los días. Or, as you might already know because of the word días, every day. So this is something that is pretty much going to happen on a daily basis. Our next one, mucho, which I'm certain most of you guys know, means often, or you could say it means many times. Next we have a veces, which means our next one, de vez en cuando, which means once in a while. Doesn't happen all the time, but it doesn't happen rarely. It's kind of in between. We have poco, which means a little. We have rara vez, which I'm sure as you can tell by the word means rarely. And then finally we have nunca, which I'm sure all of you guys know, never. So go ahead and write these down in your handout, fill them all out, and we'll continue on. So my list right now that I'm going to make is just a short list describing un buen estudiante, or as you guys might already know, a good student. So un buen estudiante nunca llega tarde a clase, siempre estudia para pruebas, siempre tiene su libro en clase, siempre contesta preguntas, estudia todos los días, nunca mira la televisión, and saca buenas notas. Oh, and hablo mucho en español, nunca en inglés. Un estudiante malo, or a bad student, siempre llega tarde a clase, no prepara mucho la tarea, estudia poco, a little bit, rarely studies, siempre habla inglés en la clase, rara vez contesta preguntas, rara vez habla en español, nunca tiene su libro. So, different adverbs of frequency are placed in different parts of a sentence. Now, it gets a little bit tricky in the beginning, but it's one of those things you guys are going to learn, just like you learned in English where to put certain words, you have to learn in Spanish as well. So these expressions are usually placed before the verb. Siempre, rara vez, and nunca. So, for example, Isabel siempre llega tarde a la escuela. She always arrives late to school. Isabel rara vez habla español en la clase de inglés. She rarely speaks Spanish in English class. Isabel nunca usa un diccionario. Isabel never uses a dictionary. These expressions are usually placed after the verb. And we have mucho and poco, which you guys I'm sure are a little bit familiar with by now. So Ricardo estudió mucho And Isabel habla poco en la clase. Some of the more longer phrases can be placed at either the beginning or the end of the sentence. So some examples. You could say, todos los días Isabel llega tarde. You could say, a veces Isabel llega tarde. Or you could say, de vez en cuando Isabel llega tarde. Now, the opposite can be said, Isabel llega tarde todos los días. You could say, a veces, so Isabel llega tarde a veces. Or, Isabel llega tarde de vez en cuando. And like I said, it's completely up to you. Just like it is in English, you can decide to put these at the end or at the beginning of every sentence. So, these are just some real quick true or false, cierto o falso, and I want you to write them in, just the words that are in yellow on your handout. So you should have all the other words on there. I just want you to write only the words in yellow. So, nunca escucho en la clase de español. Never do I listen in Spanish class. Rara vez saco malas notas. I rarely take bad notes, or I rarely receive bad grades. Preparo mi tarea todos los días. I prepare my homework every day. Estudio poco para los exámenes. I study a little bit for exams. A veces entro en la clase tarde. Sometimes I enter into class late. Miro poco la pantalla. I look a little bit at the screen. Siempre estudio para las pruebas. I always study for quizzes or tests. A veces yo hablo cuando el profesor habla. So sometimes I talk when the professor talks. You guys probably shouldn't do that. Yo voy mucho al cine. Or I go to the movie theater a lot. Yo nunca juego videojuegos. I never play video games. Mis amigos siempre me hablan por teléfono. My friends always call me by telephone. And la profesora siempre escucha a los palominos. Alright, that's all I have for you guys today. I hope you guys were able to get all of these. They are pretty simple to pick up once you know how. And of course, we're going to be practicing these a lot more in class.